You're listening to the Fresh Hell podcast. Fresh Hell contains stories of a disturbing and often graphic nature and is intended for a mature audience. Please don't let your kids listen to this, or they might turn out like us.
Hi, I'm Annie in the USA.
And I'm Johanna in Austria, and you're listening to your favorite international podcast. We are two friends who met online, but still have never met in real life.
That's right. We now have over 300 episodes. That's wild. And this is our beloved, much anticipated, is it our 6th or 5th annual Halloween
Has to
listener?
be, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we did one the first year.
I think we did. I think we did every year.
Did we do one the first year? Okay. So
yeah, it was your great idea. Mm-hmm.
This is our 6th. Well, so many people were like, oh, I have such a weird story to tell you. And I was like, oh, send it to all of us. Yeah. So, yeah, this is our 6th annual listener Halloween special. So exciting.
Every year, I'm looking so forward to this and to all the stories. And every year, I'm like, people have to run out of stories, right? But they never do.
They never do.
Before we start, just a quick shout out. We especially want to thank our newest patrons.
That's right. You are the reason we can still afford to do this podcast every week. And so we have to send a very special thanks to Hill Bucks, who I think is actually a good friend of mine in real life. So thank you very much, Hill. Erin and Shay, thank you, new Murder Tier members. Candace Morrison, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Christina James is another new Murder Tier patron. Thank you. And so is Karen Garner. Karen, thank you. Another Murder Tier patron. Amazing. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
We just appreciate the hell out of you. We can't even say. Okay. Now, I think it's time to get right into it. Because we have so many great stories to tell that you have sent in to us.
All right, here's our first story for Halloween Listener Stories 2025. Hi, ladies. Thought I would share some strange happenings my coworkers and I have experienced in our office. From mysterious feathers appearing out of nowhere to coffee filters leaping off the coffee pot across the room, we have had a few strange things that we cannot explain. Several years ago, one of my coworkers lost a brother to a freak accident. She started seeing feathers shortly after that. Oh, I have to say something about feathers. One day in the office, out of nowhere, a feather appeared on the floor. The security cameras were looked at, but it just appeared. She feels her brother might have been reaching out to her. Some other things that have happened are really weird. There are only 3 of us in our office, and first thing in the morning we make coffee and cookies for our customers. One morning, all the coffee was made, the cookies were out in the lobby, and the 3 of us were getting prepared to open the doors for the day. All of a sudden, we heard a loud noise coming from the kitchen, which is in the back of the office. When we went back to investigate, the coffee filter basket was literally across the room from the counter that has the coffee pot on it. This happened twice on the same morning. There was absolutely no reason that the filter should have come away from the coffee pot. On another occasion, we came into work like normal and opened our IT room door. That door is locked at all times when the office is closed, and the cleaners do not have a key to it. When we opened the door, some of the ceiling tiles were moved off the grid in the ceiling. Some pieces were on the floor and wires were hanging down in the middle of the room. Once again, we had our security department look at the cameras from overnight, and 1 minute all the ceiling tiles were up, the next they were down with no explanation. There have been many times that one or more of us had thought we have heard voices. One day I was coming back from lunch and leaving the kitchen area and heard one of my coworkers talking to someone in the lobby. It was a woman's voice. When I entered the lobby, my coworker was typing on her computer and there was no one else in the office. When I asked her who she had been talking to, she looked confused and said she had not talked to anyone as no one had been in the office. We have not been able to determine that anything has happened in the building that we are in, so we are not sure who or what we are interacting with. Thanks for taking the time to read this, and I wish all a very happy Halloween. Hillary. Thank you, Hillary. I'm very fond of feathers as signs. I mean, look, it's all up for interpretation, right? but I too found like little white feathers in our house after my dad had passed away.
The voices thing I get here all the time. In my house, you hear voices. And the funny thing about that is that when I hear the voices in this house, they don't bother me. And I've mentioned them before on the podcast, I think, and how we had a very skeptical friend house sitting and dog sitting for a couple nights for us. And we had a message from him at 2 a.m. one morning saying, okay, so about the women that talk in the living room at night. Yeah, what about them? You believe me now that you've heard them for yourself? But it was a nice vibe. Whereas I've also previously talked about, I'm not going to get into detail, but that place I lived at in St. Augustine with Suze, where we would hear, it would sound, the vibes were not cool. And in that house, we had the whole wine bottle shattering on the other side of the room thing, which is like the coffee filters in this episode. And also the sound like, it would sound like Susie calling my name and vice versa. And that I do not like. In this house, it's just the sound of two women talking.
No, but if they're trying to get your attention and kind of mimicking...
It's the mimicry.
I hate it. I have goosebumps.
Yeah,
I hate it.
It's the mimicry.
That was you said the whole feeling was very angry in that apartment.
Yes, it was. It wasn't good. Or I was just a bigger wuss back then. Either way, listen, it could, like we say, it's always open to interpretation. I think both things were true. I think it was a negative vibe, and I was more easily frightened. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That was a good one. That was a good one. Could you have had mice? Because she's talking about a drop ceiling, you know, where there's...
The ceiling thing, right? And there's nothing on camera, and then all of a sudden
It just dropped.
I would have thought there was like a break-in.
No, more like a little mousey put its foot right in the wrong spot and knocked a bunch of...
No, I mean, that's what I would have first thought when I walk into work and the IT room is like in that state.
I don't know what kind of office it is, so... Interesting. Okay, thanks, Hillary. The next one is... Hi, Annie and Johanna. Happy spooky fuckery season. This is Jules from Denver. Me and my 100-pound lab mix, Jacko, love listening to your podcast every week.
Hi, Jacko.
Hi, Jacko. When me and my partner first moved into our house over 10 years ago now, we knew the family who lived there before us had owned the home for over 50 years, and the matriarch of the family had passed away in the home. Let's call her Ms. Mary. We also knew that toward the end of her life, Ms. Mary used a cane to get around, as there were lots of canes left in the house. One morning, I was getting ready for work, and my partner had already left. I was in the basement looking for some clothes, and my dog, Haley at the time, was with me. All of a sudden, I hear step, step, thud, coming from upstairs, as though someone was walking around with a cane. I called out to my partner, but he had already left for work. I hear it again. Step, step, thud. I call out again, hello, but nobody answers. I hear it for a third time, and I am so scared I run out the door, half-dressed, get into my car, and speed away. Yes, girl, run. I wouldn't come home until my partner was there to make sure there were no ghosts. Don't worry. I love this parentheses. I had a t-shirt in my car. She's just driving around town with her tits out.
Did you take Haley, though? Now I worry about the dog.
Was Haley with you? I bet Haley was with her.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing thoughtful and engaging storytelling to our home every week. Jules, I was laughing so hard at this. I love it.
I mean, that's a residual haunting there.
Or
probably. I mean,
or not.
Could be an intelligent, yeah.
Or not. If I sound funny, I've got this post-nasal drip situation happening. You can add that to the if I sound funny, it's because bingo card for Fresh Hell.
That made me laugh so much. I never realized that we say it so often.
I really do want to create like a bingo card with all the different things that we say. I think that would be really funny on a tote bag. If I
We
sound
should do
funny,
that.
it's
Yeah.
because my neighbor's mowing his lawn again. It's so funny to me. Jules, though. Oh, no, what I was going to say about the step, step, thud. And again, I feel like I'm going to have a story for every single one of these stories. But one of the nicest things that's happened since my mom passed away is I hear dog tags in the kitchen ever since my mom died. And I'm absolutely convinced that it's my mom with Tucker and Abby and our other dogs, because I only hear it when Paul and the dogs are away, because Paul likes to have the TV on in the background and the dogs jingle jangle all over the place, right? So it's only when all three of them are gone that I'll have the house will just be completely quiet, and you'll just hear jingle jangle, and you'll look up and I'm expecting to see Opus or Bean, but nope, they're not home. Nobody's home. And you can hear it deliberately in the kitchen. And I just am so sure that it's my mom with the dogs. I think it's nice. I think maybe Ms. Mary is just coming over to be like, everything going okay over here? Just say hi to her next time.
Yeah.
She'll keep the bad ghosts away.
The next message comes from Wendy, and she writes, when I was 10, we lived in a duplex where each side had a second floor. I wanted the room with the slanted ceiling upstairs. Why are we always like this? All kids and teenagers always want that kind of room.
100%.
Well, I ended up having gory nightmares in that room and wouldn't sleep up there anymore. One day, home alone, I was watching TV on one couch. The remote was on the other. I heard footsteps walk across the floor to the top of the steps. Remember, I'm alone. Then the door at the bottom of the steps opened and the TV turned off. The hairs on my body stood up. So do mine right now.
Yeah.
And I just sat there a moment like, okay, well, what now? I eventually got up, got the remote, and turned the TV back on. To this day, I wonder if that place was haunted. Love your show.
Wendy, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. As a professional.
Sounds like it.
My professional opinion is yes, your house is haunted. I don't like it when they do a bunch of stuff all at once. Like, it's too many things. Footsteps?
Especially if it's the first contact.
Yeah, on first contact. Like, could you please ease into it a little bit with us? Yeah. Because it's a lot. First contact, Johanna. Okay. Still laughing at your first contact comment. First time as a ghost? Come on, ease into it, buddy. All right, this next one is very interesting. This is from Anonymous in California, and I really feel that this one begins to ramp up the creepiness somewhat exponentially. Okay. Hi, Fresh Hell. I recently found your podcast and have been really enjoying it, especially the recent vampire epidemic episode.
Yay, I'm glad.
Yes, the story was excellent, and the hamburger and the Habsburger helper joke made my day.
Never gets old.
Such a silly thing. I vacillated about whether or not to send this story because it's a bit long, and also I don't tell it very often because it makes me sound crazy. But I'm curious to find out if anyone else out there has a similar story. I was bracing myself once I read that part. I was like, okay. And it is a crazy story, but something about this story actually reminds me of something else. It sounds somewhat familiar, like I've heard. I think someone might have information for you. Okay, she writes, I grew up in the same house my mom grew up in, a Victorian built around 1890. We moved into it when I was 8, when my grandparents retired and downsized. I loved the house, but also found it quite creepy. For context, there are a lot of haunting stories about this house, but I won't get into them. You should. There was a particular spot in the downstairs hallway that always made me feel extra uneasy. There was a closet with an empty space above it, and I always got the feeling that it was not empty. This feeling persisted the whole time we lived there. It was not until my parents sold the house when I was 19 that my mom finally told me what was in the hallway. When she was about 10, she said she was in the hallway and something jumped out at her. She said it got in her face, waving its arms around and shrieking at her. She described it as having black feathers, red eyes, and a mouth like a starfish. She ran crying to her mom and told her there was a monster in the hallway. My grandma apparently said, "Oh, it's okay. That's just Oscar. He won't hurt you."
Okay.
Okay.
But let's just don't talk about it. We don't talk about Oscar. No. He just lives in a closet. It's fine. It's all fine.
Can you imagine if you're just showing someone around, like a potential roommate? Okay, just one last thing. There's Oscar.
We don't go into that room. That's Oscar's room.
That's right.
Who's Oscar?
Who's Oscar?
Who
All
can
right.
say?
Who can say? Well, that's true. So she writes, "So, what is Oscar? No one knows, but here is the story. When my grandma was little, her grandpa lived with her and her parents. He had moved to the U.S. from Scotland and had brought Oscar with him, although he called him by a different name, which, unfortunately, I forgot, so I will call him Nicodemus, like the rats of Nim, because it was something like that. Her grandpa thought of Nicodemus like a friend. Sometimes when they went out, they would invite him, and he would say, 'No, I'm going to stay home and have a drink with Nicodemus.' After he died, Nicodemus went to my grandma's dad, who was afraid of him. He renamed him Oscar to make him less creepy. That's a solid move, I have to say."
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a story my husband told me.
Are you going to tell me?
Afterwards, remind me to tell you.
Okay. After he died, so this is...
First, First, we have Grandpa who brings him over from Scotland, right?
It was her grandmother's grandfather.
Yeah. So great-grandfather.
Great. This is like generational.
Yeah.
This is a generational haunt. This is interesting. Okay. After he died, the great-grandfather, Nicodemus went to my grandmother's father, who was afraid of him. Okay. So it's great-grandpa that renamed him Oscar to make him less creepy. After he died, Oscar stayed with my grandma until she sold the house, and he stayed with us until we moved out. I guess he went back to my grandma then. In the last few years of her life, my grandma told me Oscar lives with me now. She said he is mischievous, but also can be helpful. She said to leave a drink out for him sometimes and talk to him. I notice sometimes that things end up in weird places in the house, or things I am looking for turn up in places they should not be. For example, I was looking for an important document that had been misplaced. My partner had put it somewhere but forgot where. About the time I had finally given up on finding the document, I found it in the weirdest place it could turn up. In the handwritten grimoire my grandmother wrote me before she died. She was a practicing witch. I did not put the document there. My partner did not know I had the grimoire and would not have put an important document in it. No one else lives with us. Things like this happen sometimes. I don't know what Oscar is. I don't know how long he was attached to my grandma's family before they left Scotland, or why. I don't necessarily think he is literally real, but I find the story comforting. I make sure to leave a nice vintage glass of wine or whiskey or champagne out for him. Maybe if he is real, I'll see him someday.
I honestly love this story, even though I don't love the part where Oscar just jumps a little girl.
Yeah, I don't like the starfish mouth, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's creepy. The screeching, the starfish mouth. Don't do that.
I mean, I don't wanna appearance shame him, them, I don't know.
Okay, but he could be the most beautiful, gorgeous Oscar in the world.
I bet his feathers are lovely.
If you just jump into the face of a little kid screeching at her, it's always going to be scary.
It's always a negative, isn't it? With the shrieking.
And you could be the ugliest starfish mouth bastard on this whole planet. If you just wave nicely and
that's right.
Kind of try to smile, maybe that would be less creepy than jumping in your face.
I think the overriding message to this year's episode is, first contact is important, creepies. You know, you have to think about how you first approach the humans that are taking up space in your residence, please. So what were you going to tell me about?
Because you said it's a great move to rename something because you're scared of it.
Yes.
Which I think is great. And it reminded me of a story my husband told me that when he was a kid and he had nightmares, I think at one point he told me he had a nightmare of Freddy Krueger running after him or something.
Oh, yeah.
It was some monster. And he was so scared. And then in his dream, almost kind of like lucid, he decided, no, I can either run away or I can turn the thing around and run after them and scare them. And then from then on, he was either then, if he was scared, he would start it and make them their friends so that he would play with them. Or if he was in the mood for it, he would just turn around and start hunting them down, which I think is so great. I love it.
I love that. I was a big nightmare sufferer as a child. And the best I ever got was, we've talked about those viewfinder things where you'd put the circular disc in with the pictures and click a button.
Yeah.
And that, same thing with like the kind of quasi-lucid dreaming where I just say, like, this is a dream, just click the button, go to a different dream. And then I would, but usually that would be just as bad. I was just clicking that button through all kinds of nightmares. It's fine.
So yeah, but I love the Oscar story, honestly. I think it's super, super awesome that they have like generational family, whatever they are.
I think it's very interesting, and I don't think you sound crazy. I think that everything that you're saying is just the fact that you're like, I don't know that he's literally real, but there's just some kind of strange thing going on. Like, I believe you.
And I love that she leaves, even if she doesn't know and never met Oscar, she just leaves a drink out once in a while. It's like you do with Santa Claus.
Yep.
In the States.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I wish I knew,
Family
too.
tradition.
Like,
did you put out the good whiskey for Oscar?
You got to do it.
No, we just have Irish whiskey left. Oh, Oscar's going to get angry.
I love it.
All right, next one. Hello, Annie and Johanna. I'm a huge fan of your podcast. Thank you. And I'm writing in with a horrifying story from my childhood. We always love to hear these words. The older I get, the less clear my memories of this series of events get, so please forgive me if some things don't make sense. I'm going to do my best. Okay, so this all started when I was about 2 or 3. My mom and I moved into this sketchy little house in our town. I don't quite remember the exact time frame of when this started, but somewhere around this time my mom chanted a phrase. Soon after this phrase was uttered, I just remember this knock reverberating off of every surface in the house. Soon after this, I remember a man with a broken neck entering the house after the door was opened. I recall winding up on my back on the floor with this man trying to break my neck. This would last for several minutes. These events would happen again and again with varying details each time. For example, a few times this happened, I would be dancing alone in the kitchen and suddenly he would be there. These events did not always occur in my house though. Sometimes I would zone out for a few seconds and next thing I knew I would be in some place I can't name with the same events unfolding. He would try to achieve his goal through various means. Thankfully, he never came close to succeeding. Years later, I tried telling my mom about this and she would brush me off every time saying I was too young to remember that house. But I swear to you, I am not making this up. I wish I could forget it. The strange thing is, this man still visits me in my dreams on occasion, still trying to achieve his goal. I fear that one day he will succeed, but thus far I have managed to escape every time. Please share my story. So excited for Spooky Fuckery Month. Love you guys.
Wow.
This is terrifying.
I have a theory.
I have one too. You go first.
So my only theory is, well, I have a couple, but the main one is that I think sometimes there is something to the idea that children are open and children are psychic. I think it's possible that you lived in a haunted house where somebody maybe died of a broken neck. And I'm going to guess also that this person was a jerk in life. So probably kind of a jerk in death. I think it's possible. The thing that would make sense to me is if she was having psychic visions of how this person died, or do you know what I mean? Like some kind of psychic something when she was a child. And then, as we all so often do, she grew out of it. But every so often, she probably does still have a psychic dream, or she has a memory of this thing that's very hazy in her mind because she was so young when she had the visions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
What's your theory?
You know that sometimes when we experience something really, really traumatic, especially as young children, our brain is trying to protect us by making up kind of an explanation for the thing that happened that children often can't explain. And what if there was something, and I'm not saying this is what happened here, it's just, I think, something that can happen. What if something really traumatic happened when she was a child that she couldn't process, and kind of it was overwritten by something maybe she heard in a story, maybe a fairy tale or something kind of where she connected the dots. And that's why her mom doesn't even want to talk about it. And it's like, you're too young to remember, because that's the only reason why I come up with this, because that's something parents often say years later when they are kind of shocked that children do remember and that children were kind of aware that things happened.
Yeah. And that also kind of ties into the other thing that I thought of, which is it is possible at such a young age that you just saw something, like you saw a terrifying bit of, and I say this because when I was just talking about nightmares, I accidentally walked in on my parents watching, I don't even know what it was, like an episode of The Twilight Zone maybe. My mom loved Hitchcock. Whatever it was black and white, and there were beetles crawling all over this person's face, and he was trying to get them out of his eyes. And that image was part of my living and waking nightmares for years. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I was a little bit older. But it's like if I had seen that when I was 2 or 3, that's the best case scenario, I think. Best case scenario is you saw something really scary that your brain kind of melded into real life. Next, and then our other 2 theories, neither of those are super great, but I think they're possible. That's a really interesting one.
It's just scary. Yeah.
It is scary. Yeah.
I want to hear what our other listeners have to say, because we have some really well-versed in these kind of things listeners and very experienced.
Yeah. I mean, she says that she remembers her mother chanting something. So if it's possible, like, did her mom open accidentally? It sounds like mom accidentally opened a door that let something in unintentionally, is what it sounds like. And psychic 2-year-old saw it all. There used to be a show that I loved called like Psychic Children, like Psychic Kids, Children of the Paranormal. And it was so interesting and weird and creepy. And I don't know if it was all a scam or not. I know for a fact, though, that I used to have a lot of weird psychic stuff as a kid, and I don't think I was alone. All right, next up is from someone from my neck of the woods, and I really wish she wasn't, because this is very scary, and I do not like it. Okay. She writes, first of all, hello, Annie and Johanna. My friends call me Raya. I'm 31, notoriously bad with technology, and have just recently found my way onto the podcast train.
Welcome.
Yeah, glad you found us. With that being said, I've started listening to your older episodes and am now working my way up while also catching some of the newer ones. Working a monotonous warehouse job with 10-hour days has gotten me pretty far. So, before my story, I would just like to say that I adore you ladies so damn much. You guys are so authentic, relatable, and respectful, and that has had me hooked from the start, aside from, murder, mystery, and the macabre. I'm back in the 2021 episodes at the moment, so right through those tough times. I unexpectedly lost my younger brother at the age of 22 to a fatal car accident in 2019. I know it's been some time, but I also know time doesn't matter, so I'm sincerely sorry for your losses that you have faced, and I hope that your hearts have healed as well as they can. Thank you, honey. Your brother, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. That is way too young. Yeah. Thank you for talking about it and sharing your experiences, thoughts, and feelings. It's always nice to know you're not alone with the beast named grief. Johanna, I'm a Navy wife myself, and man, it can be so hard sometimes.
It can, yes.
Yes, it can. Annie, everything you go through sounds so difficult, but you are still such a sweet, funny soul. Funny, sweet soul. Thank you. You are some strong-ass women, and I respect that. Foo on the people that don't like chatting. They can press a button and skip it. It's what sets your podcast apart in my eyes, and yeah, just thanks for being you. Okay, sorry for the short novel, Annie. I can be a rambler myself. It's story time. Yes.
Everything I heard here, I quite liked it. It's kind of made my day. So,
Exactly.
yeah, thank you.
Exactly. Yes. So, a little bit of backstory here. I'm from New Hampshire. I have a sister a year older than me, and our parents were divorced before I was born. Our parents found new people while my sister and I were still pretty young. That's not a sad story in this case. We have a very amazing and loving stepdad that I couldn't picture my life without. Quick shout out to all those stepdads out there with extra love to give. Yes, we love bonus parents. Anyway, we were doing the every other weekend child swap, and my dad's side of the family remained prominent in our lives. My grandmother's sister, so my great-aunt, was a psychic, and on rare occasions, my grandmother would bring us to visit her. Long story short, turns out I inherited some of that ability. Now, this wasn't something that was seen as a positive thing outside my grandmother and great-aunt. Specifically, showing an inkling of clairvoyance and heavy on claircognizance and clairsentience, psychic abilities to see and feel future outcomes or present intuitions. This created a lot of instances of me freaking out as a child and being scolded to not talk about it so I don't sound crazy. That sounds awful, actually. That sounds really stressful.
Yeah.
Those particular stories can be told on another day. I have since not nurtured my abilities, and in turn they have quieted down over the years. Fast forward, I'm 8 or 9 years old, and my dad marries a woman who has 4 daughters. Add my sister and I, and you have a couple with 6 girls of varying ages every other weekend. 4 of us were close in age, and 2 were older. With 6 girls to transport around, my dad ended up purchasing an old limo to cart us all around in and find things to do. I love this. Apple picking was one of those activities that we would go do every year. Now, for those that don't know, New Hampshire is an absolutely beautiful state. Yes, it is. When traveling between towns and cities, you're most likely driving through heavily wooded areas with large natural stone walls and small roads. That being said, I don't recall where we were exactly. We traveled a decent distance to go apple picking, and we were on our way home. The sun had just set, and it was dark. We were on one of those small roads, so there were no streetlights, no bright civilization, and no landmarks. All the light you get comes from the headlights and the moon. I started to get feelings. I was beginning to feel very uneasy, like we were being watched and followed in a moving vehicle. I voiced this to the other girls. Some of them learned to believe me, some didn't. We're in the limo, we're sitting facing each other, 3 on one side, 3 on the other. It's not a brand new fancy limo. It's old with red cloth seats, but new enough to have a speaker system with a button in the back that could be held down to speak with the driver. Oh my God, I love this. There was also a privacy window separating the front from the back.
That must be so good if you have six teenage or 6 young girls in the back.
Right?
Just like, whoop, close up the window.
Yep, close that window right up. Let them sing along to their heart's content, whatever. So when I told the girls I was having these feelings, most of us were put on alert. We were watching behind us for other vehicles and scanning the woods as we passed. We began to see these white balls of light in the woods. Too big to be fireflies, too high and too soft to be flashlights. The lights would quickly appear, zip, and disappear again. Remember, we are in a moving vehicle, so they were moving fast. There weren't hundreds of them, but just a few here and there. At this point, we all begin to freak out. We start banging on the privacy window and using the speaker system to call our dad and stepmom. My dad ends up pulling over on account of 6 panicking, screeching girls in the back, and he's trying to ask us what the hell is happening. At this point, all I feel is go. Get the hell away from here. Go now. Leave, leave, leave. I start screaming these feelings. The lights have vanished, and it was just this sickening feeling of calm before the storm. My dad starts driving again with the privacy window down, trying to get us to calm down and explain the hysterics. We are telling him about the lights when I get a "it's here" feeling and begin frantically looking around. We've just passed a bunch of old houses and are now in the woods again when all of a sudden a bright white light lights up the entire road. There are no other vehicles around and no explanation as to what is causing this light. The light gets brighter and brighter and brighter. My dad slams on the brakes. Everyone is crying. My stepmom begins screaming at my dad to drive. My dad is yelling that he can't see. The light ahead of us is blinding, and it's lighting up the woods on either side to the point that it looked like daytime. Everyone is screaming, crying, panicking, and then poof, the light is gone. We are stopped in the middle of the road. There's nothing in front, behind, or beside us other than the woods. My dad hits the gas and starts driving as fast as he safely can on these dark, winding New Hampshire roads. Everyone just sits in silence for the rest of the drive home as we all try and process what just happened. Hopefully this wasn't too long. Holy shit. But yeah, I've never seen or felt anything like it again. And honestly, I don't ever really want to. What do you think? Aliens? Spirits? Cryptid? Ball lightning? Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I don't know how to do the ha ha ha's. It just whatever it was.
That was very sinister.
It was indeed very scary. End quote. I hate that so much. I really need to cover the Benny and Barney Hill case.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I mean, scary.
Oh, yeah, that's terrifying.
You know what? I was immediately thinking of a story my ex-husband told me once. Was he driving a truck or something? He was on a long road in the middle of the night, or was he with his uncle? I just remember he was in the woods or in the middle of the woods on a road. It was dark, and then they saw like balls of light jump really quick, really fast between the treetops. And his uncle told him it's the brujas, so the witches.
What was it really?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
Aliens?
Aliens. Maybe. That's creepy. I think it was aliens.
It's very creepy.
I think it was aliens. But that's just me.
Next up is another listener who doesn't know what he saw. Hello ladies, I'll just get into it. When I was 17, I got my first car. I was really excited about it. During summer break, one day I drove up to Monte Cristo northeast of Ogden, Utah. There were a bunch of dirt roads that went off of the main road, and I decided to try one. I think it was a logging road because I have tried to find it again over 30 years later and I can't. Anyway, the road was full of trees and I couldn't see either side to side or above until I came to a valley where the trees stopped. Filling the whole sky in the valley was a giant ball. It reflected the ground below it like a mirror, but the reflection wasn't like a fisheye lens, it was flat. I only saw it for a split second. I blinked my eyes and it was gone. No sound, no nothing, just gone. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it even was. I don't know if it was a hallucination from road hypnosis or if I saw a giant UFO. Either way, there's my spooky fuckery story. Your patron, Jared.
Hi, Jared. So my first thought initially is obviously this is a UFO, but it's a different planet. Yeah. It's a different solar system than the UFO previously mentioned seen in New Hampshire because they're different things. I do wonder if it could also be that thing where there is a very specific kind of mirage that can happen, right? And it can happen in like you see it a lot in heat, right? Where you're driving along a highway and it looks like the highway is wet, but it's not wet.
In heat, yeah. Didn't we talk about this kind of hallucination, possible explanation for the alien story you told back in the day? I don't remember what was his name. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So it could be that because like in Titanic, right? There's a thing though where also, unlike the mirage of water, there's this funny mirage hallucination thing that can happen. But I don't know if it would be that. Or it's a UFO. I don't know.
Or maybe portal to another dimension. Didn't we have a story like a portal story last year? I think
we did.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Donnie Darko style in a way.
All right. Yeah, Jared, that one is, I don't like it. Okay. Next up. This one says, I have no idea when you ask for these. I'm only up to 2023, but I have a strange story. Congratulations for making it through to 2023. I'm always amazed and horrified when people were like, I found you, so I started at the beginning. And I'm like,
from the beginning. I'm like, no, don't do it to yourself.
Could you not? It's fine. In 2024, I was living in Onehunga, which is in Auckland, New Zealand. I kept seeing a figure walking into our bedroom. I know it sounds like the usual trope, but she was in white. But think more 80s grandmother nighty. Yes. I couldn't understand what was happening, and to be honest, thought it was maybe because I'd been on my medicinal cannabis. But then one night, I got a feeling in my sleep that there was someone in our room. I woke up and I saw my grandmother standing next to the bed. I'm 42 now, and she died when I was 7 and in London, where I'm from, but I knew it was her. Then a few months later, I had moved back to Melbourne, Australia. I've lived here for 12 years. Anyway, my partner said to me, I had such a weird dream last night. I kept calling you Lillian, and you were really annoyed by it. My grandmother was called Lillian, and she had no idea. I only ever called her Granny Smith. Now, we have had a really shitty few years, but that day she told me her dream, we finally got accepted for a rental apartment, and I got a job. Could it have been Granny Smith saying I'm here for you and I'll help? I do believe in spirits being with you all the time, keeping you safe. So maybe. Yeah.
That's a great story.
I think that's amazing. I love it. And I also don't think the medical cannabis, I'm not saying take medical cannabis to open your mind. I am saying that I think it is possible that if you were on something that would maybe relax you a little bit more than you would normally be relaxed, you could potentially be more receptive to something like that.
Yeah.
That's really lovely.
I can see that. Yeah. That's a good one.
I like that one.
Okay. Next up. Hi, ladies. First, I want to say how much I love you both and the podcast. I can't tell you how much of a godsend it's been. Thank you. No, that was for me. Thank you. I have so many stories, it was hard to pick, so I've narrowed it down to 2. My grandparents' house was super haunted, but every time we would say something about a strange noise, they would just say, it's just a house settling, Micha. I don't know how much a house can settle after 50 years, but okay.
They do still settle.
Funny thing, that was a question I had today that I really Googled. How much can a house settle after 70 years? Because I found some cracks. But don't worry, it's nothing too bad.
Yeah, same.
So, the first story. My brother and I went to California. We now live in Pennsylvania to stay with my grandpa for a few weeks. One night, we were returning to the house with our second cousin. The 3 of us were sitting on a couch in the front living room. From where we were sitting, we had a partial view of the top of the staircase in the entryway. Well, at one point I happened to look up and saw what can only be described as a Grim Reaper figure walking across the top of the staircase. No, you don't want that. You don't want you don't want a Grim Reaper in the house.
You don't.
But because I only had a partial view, I could only see from about knee length down. But it was an unmistakable black-robed figure. Later that night, I asked my brother if he saw anything, and he described the same thing. We texted our cousin, and she said she also saw it, but didn't want to scare us as we had to stay there. That's considerate. Thank you.
Yes.
The second story, the same trip a few nights later. My grandpa, brother, and I were standing in the formal dining area talking. The only light on at the time was in the kitchen behind me. I was leaning against the kitchen counter. We were having some kind of heated discussion, and at some point my vision wandered to my grandma's glass display cabinet by the front door in the same entryway as the staircase. I was just staring at it, and the more I looked, the more I could see something appearing. Then, finally, I saw a very clear, very menacing face staring back at me from the glass. I must have screamed or something because my grandpa stopped talking and asked me what was wrong. I told him and he told me not to worry. It's just Oscar. No. He told me not to worry because there are good spirits in the house. He's known they're there since my grandma died. But they're good. I was really scared and shook up because in all the years going to that house, this was the first time I had actually seen something. A couple months after we returned home to Pennsylvania, my dad was on the phone talking to my grandparents' neighbor. He told my dad that my grandpa had told him that he can sense demons in the house and that he knew they were there for him. My God. Oh, he just tried to not scare them. He died a couple of years later. I could have told him that.
Oh, no.
Jeez.
Oh, no.
Anyway, those are my two stories. Thank you so much for all the hard work and time you both put into the podcast. We love you, Shell.
Shell.
That took a turn there.
That took a turn. Oh, no, Shell. Maybe, I don't know how old he was at the end, but maybe he just got a little bit confused. I hope they weren't really demons.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Oh, Shell. Okay. Next up, we have a really nice note here. Let's see. This is from Julie. She writes, quote, "Hello, my name is Julie. I've just finished episode 300. I've only been listening for 5 to 6 months now. Oh no. But it has been all the time. On my 7-minute commute to and from work, on my breaks, waiting at the doctor's office, at bedtime. I just love listening to you two, and now I'm bummed because I have to wait a week for new episodes. Thank you."
Julie, you're gonna get nightmares. I'm sure she has nightmares of our voices.
Probably.
Sorry, Julie.
Sorry. We're so sorry. All right, on to my spooky stories. I have 3. One is my husband's. We'll keep him anonymous. One is mine, and the last one is just kind of funny. All right, I'm ready for it. When my husband was 16, he was at work when a call was sent back to him. It was his favorite aunt. She lived 2,000 miles away, and this was in the late 70s, so a long-distance phone call was a big deal. The connection was really bad, and she kept repeating her special nickname for him, so he knew it was her. Then the call was dropped. He couldn't make a long-distance call from work, so he just kind of forgot about it. A few hours later, his dad came into his workplace and told him that his aunt had died before the call came through. She had contacted him after she passed. So, I love that. I love that so much.
We also already had several stories like this. This is something that really apparently happens.
It does.
Sometimes.
I think it really, really does happen. And yeah, I heard a recent story like this revolving someone in my family, but I actually am not talking very much about any personal experiences I've had recently because I'm hoping to go see a psychic with somebody and I don't want to put anything out there that they could find, if that makes sense. I love that though. What an absolute, how amazing would that be?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd love to have that kind of quote unquote proof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. So then she continues. My story takes place in the early 80s. I grew up in a suburb of Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. I was a brainy nerd in high school, not very popular and not a partier. But in class, I would hear about the parties other kids went to. Same. One place they always talked about was the chicken coop. I never paid a lot of attention to their stories, but would hear them talk about it. Well, one Saturday, I was hanging out with a good friend, her brother, and his girlfriend. We didn't know what to do, and somebody suggested the chicken coop. I'd been curious and was up for an adventure, so we decided to go. We drove for a little while, and it became a little bit more rural. We came to a dirt road driveway. My friend turned into it. It was a long driveway. We got about halfway down and could see a building in the distance. All of a sudden, I felt pressure on my chest, and the car started moving backwards. Someone yelled for my friend to put on the brakes. She said her foot was to the floor, but we kept moving. Needless to say, she put it in drive, and we sped out onto the road as fast as we could. Afterwards, my friends were surprised that I didn't know what the chicken coop was. Apparently, it had been an insane asylum, and horrible things had happened there, especially in the chicken coop, which was still standing, the building in the distance. It was especially scary to me because I had no clue, and I still had that experience. Gee, this was scary just typing it. Yeah, it almost sounds like if you were the kind of person to believe in that sort of thing, like somebody put a protection or a go-away spell on that property to just...
I mean, seriously, I wouldn't, ever since learning about the Wineville chicken coop murders, I wouldn't want to go to a place called the chicken coop anyway.
No.
Doesn't have a nice kind of connotation there.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah. My third story also happened in the early 1980s. Remember, no cell phones, just the one attached to the wall. Our phone rang one evening, and it was my best friend. She was whispering. She was scared. She was home alone and thought someone was in the house. Their back door led to the basement, so she could see a reflection of the stairs in the window, and she saw legs on the basement stairs. She was going to check it out and told me that if she didn't call back in 5 minutes, I should call the police. Well, about 2 minutes later, she calls back. Someone had hung a pair of jeans to dry at the bottom of the stairs, and it looked like legs in the window reflection. I still laugh when I think about it. It's so good.
I think we all have made this kind of experience, something that looks really scary in the dark, and then you turn on the light and it's just your pile of clothes staring at you.
So good. And such a good one to include, too, to remind us that a lot of the times these things can have, She says, again, thanks so much for my many hours of listening. I've loved getting to know you. Thank you. Attached is a picture of my boys, Blue the black lab and Remy the yellow lab. And when I tell you that these dogs, we'll share a picture of the dogs, obviously, that's all anybody cares about. They are gorgeous.
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
They could be in a calendar for Labrador retrievers. They are beautiful dogs.
They also look like they're really good boys. Like you just can see it.
The goodest boys. Look how nice they are. Also, respect for getting a black dog and a yellow lab. Like, it's so hard to figure out what you're going to wear because everything is going to have, that was it. Like I had Tucker and all my clothes and all my stuff was like beigey cream because then it hid his fur. Then we got Opus and everything was black. And then we got Bean and she's a little bit of both. So I'm just covered in hair all the time.
Well, getting to tricolor dogs is just insanity.
It's it. I just
gave up. You have to. Like, I don't care.
No, that's right.
Beagle glitter everywhere.
Everywhere.
All right, next one. Ahoy, Johanna and Annie. I love that she said ahoy. That's also the Czech way of saying hello, by the way. It's ahoy. Greetings from the heart of Lemuria, also known as Mount Shasta. A few months ago, I was house sitting for my sister in a town far away from my home. The spooky fuckery happened the first night I was there alone. Angus, feline, and Debbie, canine, snuggled up with me as I fell into the arms of Morpheus. I love how you write.
I do too.
For a deep slumber. Much to my surprise, my therapist, let's call him Chris, appeared to me, vivid as life, in a dream. I told him I wasn't expecting to see him so soon. Our next appointment wasn't for a few weeks. He replied that he wanted to stop by to say hi. He was cheerful and told me a few things, overall a positive message. Then he said he had to go. He hugged me, but it wasn't like a regular hug. I had the feeling of being embraced by the most beautiful, radiant light and love imaginable. Then he was gone. Our appointments were more often than not via telemedicine, essentially a Zoom call. We had been talking about death and hope during the most recent appointments. To me, an indicator that one still has hope is the willingness to buy a lottery ticket. I never buy lottery tickets, but I told Chris that I had a ticket from years ago someone had given me. It was a winner and the prize was another ticket, and I wasn't willing to throw it away, but I didn't have enough optimism to trade it in. Chris encouraged me to see how I would feel to trade in the ticket for a new one. I agreed and told him we could do a live scratch reveal of the ticket during our next call. I actually followed through and got the new ticket. During the session we spoke more about death and hope. The time came and I scratched away the stuff on the lottery ticket. We won $8. I told Chris I would get another ticket with the windfall and donate the rest. We would have another reveal at my next appointment in a few weeks when I returned. I brought the ticket to my sisters as I intended to cash it in at a tiny shop next to a Botanica. During the 3-week stay, I just wasn't motivated to cash in the ticket. I even had special cat treats to give to the resident cat, Pepe. I brought the ticket home with me. Soon after I returned, Chris' scheduler called to tell me that he had died. She had no details. Once the shock passed, I felt really bad and I didn't get the new lottery ticket, as if that would have made some sort of difference. I looked for information about his death, but the only thing I found was a brief note in a professional journal from a former employer. The obituary included the date Chris died. There was no service mentioned and his family asked for privacy. It will come as no surprise to my fellow Hellions that the date of Chris' death is the same as the date he visited me in my dream. Oddly enough, I'm house-sitting at my sister's as I write this. I brought our winning lottery ticket along with me in case the spirit moved me to trade it in for another ticket. Pepe is probably miffed I have yet to bring the treats. Of course, I'm deeply saddened by the loss of Chris. I don't know why I'm kind of choking.
No, I know, it's really sad.
Like my throat is kind of... why does this make me so sad?
Because it sounds like somebody probably was in a really bad place and left, but
it reminds
also,
me of the priest story from 2 years ago or last year.
Yes. And I'm just so jealous of people. It sounds like a fucked thing to say. Like, I'm so jealous that you had this kind of interaction. I would love to have this kind of, I'm jealous of people who get to have this kind of experience, I guess.
She continues, of course I'm deeply saddened by the loss of Chris, but his visitation was an honor and a blessing. Part of his message was to hold fast to hope no matter what. I believe the other part of the message delivered through the hug was a glimpse of the unlimited, radiant love, light and beauty that awaits us on the other side. Chris's death is also a reminder for me to reach out to others when I'm going through hell and to check in on friends, neighbors and strangers when I sense they are struggling. Keep going, Hellions. Love, B. Attached is an image of the winning ticket.
That's awesome. You have the snake ticket. That's me. I'm a snake. 1977, baby. I'm a snaky wakers. This is beautiful. I love this. B, we love you. That was a really nice story, I think.
I don't know. It filled me with such sadness all of a sudden.
Yeah.
All right.
And here is our final listener story today. And I saved this one for last because I thought it was a really kind of a positive one. Quote, Annie and Johanna, happy spooky fuckery month to you both and to your furry babies. Kiss them and tell them I love them. We will. Now, to get to the meat and potatoes of this email. I was married to my ex-husband for 12 years until he out of the blue ended it. I moved back to my parents' house with my daughter. My grandmother, who I lovingly called Gran, lived a stone's throw away. She always called me her itty-bitty pretty one. I love that song. Her health started declining rapidly, so I was glad I could be there whenever I was needed. After a few months, my best friend, my Gran, was gone. After the funeral, I would frequently have to sneak out to my car at night to let my emotions out. I didn't want to upset my 7-year-old any more than she already was. One night, as I was in my car, my gaze looked up at her old house, and a light was on at the kitchen sink like it used to be. And in the window was my gran. I sucked in a breath and let out a sob. She smiled and waved and was gone. It was as if she was letting me know everything was okay, she was okay, and I would be too. If this is too sad, I understand. I still wanted to share the story with you. Your loving hellion, Stephanie. Stephanie, I think this one is so beautiful.
It's sad, but in a good way.
Yes, thank you. Like, what an absolute gift and a blessing that your grandma got to see her great-grandchild. You know, she had 7 years with her great-grandchild. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
My last surviving grandparent died when I was 9. I didn't even have grandparents, you know. What an absolute gift to have had your grandmother long enough that she knew your children. That's such a gift. And I totally think she was smiling and telling you she was good. She was happy. Oh, I think that one was so, yes, it's sad. It's sad because it's awful to lose someone you love so much like that. But wow, what a gift, right?
I loved all these stories this year. Thank you so much to everybody who wrote.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that you trust us with these stories of yours.
There's one last thing we have to do.
Yes.
Penny. We have to pick a winner for the giveaway.
That's right.
I put all your names in the Wheel of Fortune.
That's right.
Let me see if I can somehow record it so I can then share it so everybody sees we were not fucking up. No, I can't because I'm on a call with you. Guys, you have to trust me that I'm really...
We trust you.
So I put all your names of everybody who wrote us a story in, and I gonna click to spin now. And it's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning.
Spinning.
And the winner is Hillary.
Hillary, congratulations.
Hillary, I have your email address. I'm gonna contact you and I'm gonna send you something.
That's amazing. Congratulations to Hillary.
All right, guys, this was it.
We should start a thread in the Facebook group for everybody's Halloween costumes.
Yeah.
So we can see what people are getting up to this year. This is actually dropping on Halloween.
Yes.
Halloween is a Friday
this year. Well, not for
our
patrons. They have early access tomorrow, but for everybody else, it's going to be out on Halloween.
That's right.
So yeah, there's, I think, nothing left to say, but
happy Halloween.
Tschüss. Every year.
Just wait, it's turkey season soon.